What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and happy Thanksgiving. It's primer time. We're actually pre-recording the show, so it's not Thanksgiving, but happy Thanksgiving. I believe it was Seinfeld where he called the voicemail and it goes, this is the pre-recorded voice of George Costanza. So this is pre-recorded. It's not live on air, as that says. But we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to have Gabe DeArmond on, my good friend from PowerMizzou, covers all the Missouri athletics there on 24/7 Sports. Just came over from Rivals recently, so certainly happy to have Gabe DeArmond in the network. Connor Goodson is going to join us as well. We'll talk a little bit about Illinois, and of course, we're going to cover this Missouri game top to bottom. All that episode of Hog Sports Live. Well, it's an early Black Friday sale at Hog Sports. I just want to, everybody knows how to like and all that kind of stuff, where to listen to stuff. But I just want to mention this real quick because this is the best offer that we do at Hog Sports. It's 75% off right now. So if you want to join the number one independent source on Arkansas sports and recruiting, just in time for the transfer portal and everything that comes with it, National Signing Day starting on the 4th, the portal opening on the 9th. It should get pretty crazy. And, of course, all the basketball coverage that we provide and baseball coming up as well. Then sign up at Hog Sports. 75% off. What does that mean? It means 7 cents a day. It means 52 cents a week. It means $224 a month and billed at just $26.85 for the entire year. No promo code required. Just go to HAWGsports.com. You'll see the banner ad. Click it, and you can subscribe there. First-time users only. Go sign up at Hog Sports. So Arkansas right now is at +3 on Bet Saracen. Just +3. This is a team that obviously beat Arkansas convincingly last season. And now it's at their place. So that's an interesting line by Bet Saracen. There's a million Randy Rainwater prop bets on this game for Illinois also. Illinois and Arkansas basketball tipping off at 3 o'clock Thursday, today, if you're watching this when it's running live. Arkansas is +2.5. So Arkansas dogs in both of these games. We've talked about this series. It's 11-4 in favor of Missouri. That's astounding, really. I mean, when you consider the history of these two programs, but Missouri has absolutely dominated this. Arkansas won in 2021, 34-17, but the last two meetings, Missouri obviously dominated 48-14 in Fayetteville last year. Arkansas had 5 turnovers. And in Columbia the year before, Missouri won a 29-27 game, a game where, like, the last time Arkansas scored was like 12:50 to go. They kicked a field goal inside the 4-yard line, and Sam Pittman has said maybe I should have kicked or maybe should have gone for it in that instance. We've talked about in the past some of the decision making that Sam Pittman has made in game that always seems to turn out to be the wrong decision. But they had 12:50 left in this game. Like they could have scored. So I'm not saying that was necessarily the wrong result of that one. If you want the right result, go check out our friends at Ozarks Go, ozarksgo.net/hog, HAWG, for fantastic internet service. I've said this before with Ozarks Go. I've used those guys for 3.5 years now. I've never unplugged and plugged my router back in. I've never gotten any kind of arguments with my family because the internet's not working. It just works. It works consistently. So what's better than that? They don't jack your rates up from year 1 to year 2 like I've experienced in the past with other internet service providers. You can reach out to them at ozarksgo.net/hog and use the promo code BIDDY1 and get 1 month free. You can also call them at 479-684-4900, where you'll reach somebody local. You'll reach a local person who knows the area, who can tell you, yeah, we're north of the tunnel. They know what parts of Rogers you're talking about. So parts of Oklahoma as well. ozarksgo.net/hog. Quality internet service that you can be pleased with. All right. We're going to go to my friend Gabe DeArmond now. For those of you who are not familiar with Gabe's story, Gabe and I worked together at Rivals for a long time and have been good friends, good work friends. A lot of people don't understand the job you do, so it's always nice to get together and talk about things. And Gabe and I have always got along, despite what some people may be surprised about that. And he's joined us at the 24/7 Sports Network. It's been a spot that we've kind of held, I think, in a long time. We have not had a Missouri site and just kind of waiting for the opportunity to bring Gabe over. And it's a big coup for the network to get Gabe. Gabe, how you doing, brother?
Not bad, man. I know it was all the Arkansas fans who finally pulled me over. They were all
Yeah.
requesting my presence. I know that's how it worked.
That's right. That's right. So, Gabe, I just want to get your thoughts a little bit about this game, the series, the rivalry. A lot of people call it a manufactured rivalry. It does seem like it's becoming more of one, at least on Arkansas's ends. What's your thoughts overall just about this game?
I mean, big picture, the rivalry, I've always viewed it as like just something that there wasn't a natural rival for Missouri. This was the closest it came. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, Missouri fans this year were looking forward. The Oklahoma game was the one they had circled on the schedule. I said in response to, I don't know, an Arkansas story, I think it was by Christina Long on Twitter, like, I think Missouri's biggest rival since joining the SEC has been South Carolina. They've had really good
Mm-hmm.
series. Sometimes it's impacted the SEC East. They don't particularly like each other. But it makes sense geographically, but that's the only way it's really made sense so far. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I've always viewed this, especially after Mike Anderson made his move. This has been a basketball thing to me. Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas basketball has always been something I've kind of looked forward to and circled on the calendar. Missouri, Arkansas football, a little bit less so, but hey, it's the last game of the year. It is generally important. As far as this game this year, I don't really know what to think. I mean, Arkansas has already made a bowl game. I'm not sure how much there is for them to play for. Missouri had hopes that it was going to be playing for something way more important than it is playing for. I'm not sure how much importance there is to Missouri other than,
Mm-hmm.
hey, send the seniors out with a win. So we'll see what happens. It's going to snow on Saturday. It's always guaranteed to be awful weather when this game's in Columbia. So at least we got that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I always tell people like I don't give Missouri or Columbia a fair shake because every time I've been there, it has been so dreary,
Oh,
freezing,
awful.
gray. It's like I can't ever get there when it's warm, I guess. But maybe I should come for basketball. You're forgetting though. You mentioned Mike Anderson. You're forgetting about Frank Broyles shocking Missouri Nation in 1957 and going to Arkansas also. So there's
Yeah,
more
well, I
than
mean, I was negative 19 at the time, so I don't
yeah.
have any specific memories
Good
of that.
math. Good math.
I'm quick on my feet.
Yeah, you are. You are. It's surprising you're in this business. Like I figured I was just in this business because I am not good in math. So, Gabe, what can you fill us in about the injury report with Missouri right now? I know that Brady Cook has been dealing with. He had the ankle injury against Auburn, showed an amazing amount of toughness and resilience in that one. I believe it was a wrist against Alabama. Also, what's his health like? Is he 100%? And maybe who's coming back in this game, and maybe who's missing?
Yeah, I don't know if Brady's 100%, but he's close enough. I mean, he's going to play. This is really last week was the first week in a month we knew for sure he was going to play. And when you ask what's up with the injury report, well, whenever it comes out, whatever it says, just completely disregard it. That's how they went into coming off the ankle injury. They went to the Alabama game and he was listed as questionable all week, doubtful all week. And we told people like, look, he's going to play. We're pretty sure he's going to play, and he played. And then going into the Oklahoma game, he was listed as questionable all week. So clearly better status. We knew he wasn't playing that game. Like there was no way. So these injury reports and look, Eli Drinkwitz is certainly guilty of it. I'm sure there are other coaches in the league too. These are ridiculous. Like they serve no purpose. Lane Kiffin puts 30 dudes on it.
Out matters. Out. Just the hard line. Out. That's the only thing.
But really, what's to keep a coach from listing a guy as out on Friday night and then listing him as game time decision on Saturday night?
I think you have to. Once you list him as out, isn't it over once you list him as out?
Maybe you could be right about that.
But anyway, to your point, the only thing that matters is the hard line, out or playing. Basically, all this other probable, questionable game time decision,
Right. And I mean, Brady played his best game of the year against Mississippi State. Now it's Mississippi State, right?
Yes.
You guys saw firsthand what they offer in terms of resistance defensively, but he looked pretty good. The ankle seems to be mostly healed. He's playing, I think, almost as big a deal. They got Nate Noel back in the last couple of weeks. They're starting running back who just kind of gives this running game a different gear. He missed 2 games, was limited in another 1 or 2 mid-season, but he's back. They are really about as healthy as they've been. I mean, outside of guys that, have been listed on the injury report as season-ending injuries for the last 3-4 weeks. Mookie Cooper, starting wide receiver, had season-ending surgery on Tuesday morning. This is 2024. We found out about it on his Instagram story.
Yes,
but
I saw that in the press conference.
Yeah, but I mean, he's missed the last 4 games anyway. So there's really nobody that has played recently that's not going to play in this one.
Yeah. Gabe DeArmond joining us. Gabe, what's your Twitter handle? People want to follow you.
Oh, it's your just at PowerMizzou. Yeah, it's at PowerMizzou.com. I quit the personal Twitter account sometime in the middle of COVID. It was too much for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, hey, we talked on your podcast a little bit, and people who are Razorback fans know my disdain at times for Eli Drinkwitz and is it me? Is it my problem, or is it Eli? Asking myself, am I being too hard on the guy? No, I just don't like him. But the guy that I really do like is Brady Cook. I think he's such a leader. We talked a little bit about that Auburn game, showing the toughness, going to the hospital and coming back and leading them back to from a double digit deficit. Just thought he showed a lot of character, and it's great to have a guy like that on your side.
Well, and Trey, for doing this as long as we have, you don't necessarily root for an outcome, but you root for people, right? Yeah. And you especially root for people that other people seem to not necessarily be 100% behind. And Brady has been given up on so many times. And Missouri fans get mad when I bring it up. I'm not shaming Missouri fans. Look, I said going into 2023, if Brady Cook's going to be your starting quarterback, I'm not sure you win anything significant in the SEC. And then he went out and won 11 games. Yeah. He's a kid who was brought here, I think, never really with the intention of him being the starting quarterback. They had a guy transfer out. He played a bowl game, went into the next season kind of as the default starter, went 6-7. And then Drinkwitz went out and offered every transfer who had 2 arms to come in and take Brady's job. And none of the transfers bit. So Brady comes in, wins the job, and then, like I said, goes 11-2. Like you said, goes to the hospital, all that. And, his press conference on Tuesday before this game, I mean, there are very few times where I listen to one of these kids talk and anything kind of hits me. But, hey, I mean, you listen to that kid talk, and what I've said about Brady to Missouri fans is his biggest sin is that he might not be as good at playing quarterback as you want him to be. But this is a kid who legitimately grew up watching Chase Daniel and Jeremy Maclin and watching Blaine Gabbert and said, it is my dream to be the starting quarterback at the University of Missouri. We know what a transaction, right? We know what a transactional what a transactional thing college sports is. All fans want to think that the kids go to that school because they love the school as much as the fans do, but they don't. It's a place they can play, and some of them grow to like it and all that, but they're all mercenaries. But Brady is one of the very few who, hey, this is what I grew up wanting to do, and now I'm doing it. And Saturday, I think more than anything, Saturday for Missouri is about sending that kid out with one last win on Furrow Field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes this game hard, when you're predicting it. If you're, covering Arkansas or you're an Arkansas fan, it is senior day. Am I wrong on this? Does Missouri not do all their senior day festivities after the game?
I think it seems to change, but as far as I know, I think they're doing it before. We talked to a couple of the kids on Tuesday and asked them, how do you play a football game after that? And they said, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So
I feel like one year, maybe it was a gimmick or something that they did. Maybe it was under Barry Odom. Maybe he did it like that. I can't remember, but I feel like there was a year where they did it afterwards. And I remember thinking that's going to be interesting, but they ended up winning the game. Missouri defense, we've talked a lot about the offense. I know there's what did they lose? How many guys they lose to the NFL draft?
5 NFL players last year.
5 NFL players on defense. And maybe they've got 1 right now on defense, but it's still an upper middle of the pack defense. What are your thoughts on that group?
Yeah, it's been it started out the year really good. And I mean, back-to-back shutouts now. Look, Murray State and Buffalo are necessarily winning any awards, but started out really good. Had a really bad day against Texas A&M, bounced back a little bit. But we thought this was going to be a team carried by its offense, and the defense, hey, hopefully it can be good enough to hang on. It was actually the opposite through probably 2/3 of the season. Defense was the better unit. But these last 2 or 3 weeks, they've really struggled, especially in the passing game. They lost. You mentioned the 5 NFL players. The 2 most important ones probably were their starting cornerbacks from last year: Ennis Rakestraw, Chris Abrams-Drain. Ennis got drafted in Detroit in the second round. Chris Abrams-Drain went to Denver in the 5th round, and they've really struggled to replace those guys. I mean, Drayden Norwood, a second-year player transferred from A&M, has played pretty well. They brought in Toriano Pride from Clemson. He was a 4-star high school kid, really highly thought of. Brought him in the portal. He struggled a little bit, was replaced by a sophomore named Nicholas Deloach, who struggled every bit as much, who has since been replaced again by Toriano Pride. Marvin Burks, a 4-star safety. He might hospitalize somebody by the end of the season the way he hits, but he also is just as likely to blow a coverage or miss the tackle. So it's been pretty hit and miss in the back end. And, South Carolina, Lenora Sellers, who's a guy who can really do a lot of damage with his legs, but wasn't necessarily viewed as a great passer, threw for 353 and 5 touchdowns. Mississippi State had a little bit of success early on throwing the football. So, when you face a guy that has that ability, and everybody knows, I think Taylon Green has that ability. It's inconsistent, but he's capable of beating somebody with his arm. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and with Armstrong on Saturday.
Yeah, Arkansas had a bunch of players drafted last year too. So, I mean, they didn't really. A center and a kicker in the 6th round. But a better defense this year, and I think Arkansas, and even though maybe the stats don't show it, I think they had a couple of bad games that really skewed the stats against them. But a lot of times they played very well on defense, and I do think we've talked about this, like what's there to play for this game, and aside from maybe Senior Day for Missouri and the opportunity to get to 10 wins, it's still in front of them. But for Arkansas last year, I think obviously Missouri had a lot to play for last year, but for Arkansas last year, nothing to play for. They were not going to a bowl game. Everybody's thinking, where am I going to end up in the transfer portal? Is my coach getting fired? Who's got money for me? I mean, it was just rampant, and it showed in the way they played. And on top of it, I'm sure KJ Jefferson, for as bad as he was last year, wanted to go out one last time and have a good game, and was hurt. Like, what was it, the first or second series?
It was very early.
Quarterback, yeah. So there was just not a lot of motivation, I think, for last year's team. So, but I do think that there is this year. I mentioned, I don't know what it is nationally, but on Bet Saracen, the app for Arkansas, it's +3 right now. Arkansas is +3, so a very close betting line for a game that was 48-14 last year. What are your thoughts on how this game plays out? Do you have maybe a score prediction? I don't know if you do those or not, Gabe.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done my official prediction. I've just said I think it's a 1-score game. I mean, Missouri has not really blown anybody out this year. They beat Mississippi State last week by 19, which is, considering it's Mississippi State, I'm not sure that counts as a blowout. It's
and
been
Eli
a blowout
could have
for
scored
Missouri.
again. He let that know.
Yeah, he could have.
Good thing Mississippi State stopped talking.
Right. They no, but I mean, they beat Boston College by 6. They beat Vandy in overtime. They beat Oklahoma on a miracle at the end. Like, this team hasn't blown anybody out. So I don't really expect them to blow anybody out. Like, all year long, we kept saying, well, maybe this is the week we see the Missouri team we thought we were going to see. And we just haven't really seen it. I mean, we saw it a little bit against South Carolina, and it wasn't enough because then the defense broke down. And like I said last week, Mississippi State, I don't know. So I think this is a game that probably does come down to the end. And what I kind of lean on, if I'm picking somebody to win or lose the game, is Missouri has won almost every close game it's been in the last 2 years, and Arkansas has lost almost everyone. And like, there's no science to that. I don't know if that makes, like, I'm not sure losing all of them or winning all of them means that's what's going to happen next time. But one thing about this Missouri team, they truly believe if they get in a close game, they're going to find a way to win it. And they have almost every time. So I would lean Missouri in a close game. But look, I think Missouri's made a lot of mistakes this year, and it's done so against teams that maybe weren't good enough to make them pay for it. I think Arkansas has enough talent to make them pay for it if they make those mistakes again on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, as Sam Pittman said, you don't want Eli Drinkwitz's coach team to have the ball last. So kind of reflecting what you say there. Gabe, appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate you having me, man.
Okay, brother.
For sure. I'll be there.
All right. Talk to you later. All right, everybody. That's Gabe DeArmond, again, at PowerMizzou. You can follow him. What does he say? PowerMizzou on Twitter. Just PowerMizzou, I guess. Company man. So we're glad to have Gabe in the network. Not the biggest fan of Eli Drinkwitz, but I am a big fan of Gabe DeArmond. All right, everybody. Connor Goodson time, live and in person. Connor, it's a good looking hoodie you got there.
Do I say that again?
You got your letters on 24/7.
I know. I'm repping. Had to really put on for my first time on the show.
So, Connor, obviously a big game. If people are watching this live, it's Thursday when we're running this, but big game today, 3:00 against Illinois. We talked about it a little bit on Monday, but just your thoughts since, I guess, recently talking to Zvonimir Visic, a unique situation playing his twin brother for Illinois. Your thoughts on this matchup for Arkansas, which I believe Arkansas is 2.5-point underdogs on Bet Saracen.
Yeah, it's a huge measuring stick game for Arkansas. There's like no, people were saying that the Baylor game is really big. This game is much bigger than the Baylor game because Illinois, I think, is a better team, and Arkansas is much better than they were when they played Baylor. I think looking at like the stats and when I was diving into to do my little game preview. With Illinois, you look at like KenPom and stuff, and KenPom has these like it's almost color coded where it's green usually means they're higher ranked in all the numbers and stuff in the country, and then reds usually you're at the bottom half. Well, Illinois is like a complete opposite of what Maryland Eastern Shore was. Like you look at their page, it's all red, and then Illinois is all green. Illinois is a really good team, especially.
I lost your audio. I can't hear you, Connor. Nope.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Nice. Where was I? Rebounding the basketball. Illinois is first in rebounds per game and first in rebounding margin. So I think that's going to really decide where this game is. They're averaging 50.2 rebounds per contest. Arkansas, they're middle of the pack. They're averaging about 36.5. But an interesting stat that I found is Arkansas has 8 guys that are over 3.3, averaging over 3.3 rebounds a game. And then Illinois has 7 guys who are 3.3 rebounds per game. So I think that, Arkansas, the boards are really going to tell us a lot about this team and this game. I think it's going to be decided there. And then you've got Jonas Adu. Is he going to play? Is he going to get some minutes? Where is he? Because I think that's going to, tell us a lot about whether Arkansas can actually compete on the boards.
Yeah. I wonder about Adu. Like, do they wait until SEC play to kind of unleash him? Or I mean, he's played a little bit this year, but not very much. And I mean, this is a guy that's all defensive team. Last year, what was he, a second team All SEC performer, or was he first?
Yeah, he's first team preseason all SEC selection, and I believe he was first.
I mean, that's
team,
a difference maker
last year.
That's a difference maker for them. I am interested to see this matchup between the Visic brothers because, like, they've never played against each other.
Yeah.
This is like he said in the press conference today, they've like played one-on-one and stuff like that, but they've never actually faced each other in a game before. How do you say his brother's name? It starts with a T. It's
Tomislav.
Yeah,
Tomislav.
Which is apparently, I looked it up. It's a fairly common name in Croatia. But he's more of like a true post player, where Zvonimir is more of a power forward type, as he was saying.
Yeah.
But they're going to be matched up a lot.
They are, especially, I don't expect Jonas Adu to play many minutes. I mean, if we do see him, he's going to play probably, I would say, anywhere from 10 to 15, if that. I don't think he's played over 10 minutes a game. So Big Z's going to have his hands full. And, it was funny in the presser today for the whole, 20 minutes we had Z, I don't think that he quit smiling once. Like he was just, grinning ear to ear, talking about getting to finally play against his brother in a big stage. I think this is also the first CBS basketball game that they broadcasted on Thanksgiving Day ever. So, I mean, you're talking about a big stage for both of those guys. And then we touched on it. He's more of a back to the basket kind of player. He's averaged of 15.5 points, 8.7 rebounds. I don't think that he has like the polish, like the playmaking ability that Big Z does. He obviously can't stretch the floor as well as Big Z, but he's not afraid to step out there and let it fly every now and then. Illinois has some really good shooters, so they're not really relying on him to do that. Whereas Arkansas, Calipari said it, they need 4 or 5 attempts from Big Z a game to really, kind of operate and get their percentages where they want them. So, I think that that's going to be the key, though. Can Big Z kind of finally be that post presence and keep his brother in check, on the boards defensively? Can he make sure that, Tomislav isn't, just backing him down and taking him to school? I think that's, this is Big Z's biggest test of the season. And it's funny that it's his brother.
It is. And I always find it interesting with twins. I mean, it's such an interesting deal because you're starting out with 2 like DNA copies, basically the same exact person in a lot of ways. And then they're changed through their experiences. I got to imagine in club basketball in Croatia, like, his brother was playing in the post more, and then Big Z was probably in a power forward role, but develop your skills differently, that kind of way. And I don't know. I always thought it's very, I mean, I guess it's, nutrition and experiences basically, which separates you after birth. But that's a very rare. I wonder how many situations there are like that. And, there's just where 2 brothers are playing against each other. I mean, Arkansas obviously had some twins on the same team, recently, but this can't be very common to see 2 guys like that who are just going to be playing each other in a game like this.
Yeah, if Arkansas played UALR last year, we would have had a similar situation with Makai and Mikael Mitchell. But it's very rare that I think that you see 2 guys who are not only just like twins but they're both really, really good basketball players. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think you see that. I know Chin Coleman, we asked him in this press conference after the game, if they recruited Tomislav at all. And he said that they didn't really look at him. And I think that it was more that they wanted, Zvonimir's, shot making and being able to stretch the floor a little bit more than just a back to the basket big. That's just me drawing conclusions. I don't know. I'm just connecting dots that probably aren't even there. But, that would be my guess, because Calipari has kind of shown an affinity for guys that can stretch the floor, the last couple of years. So, I think it's a rare occurrence, and I think it's going to be, obviously the broadcast is probably going to hammer it home quite a bit tomorrow. So I'm sure people will get sick of hearing hearing it by halftime.
Be like all those times we heard how fat Mason Jones used to be, and just on repeat. So by the way, you can follow Connor at Connor Goodson on Twitter. He's the HawgSports basketball analyst, but also does so many other things. Helps us with football, of course, in a big way. Your thoughts? Let's switch you over to this football game. We talked obviously a little bit about it with Gabe. I'm sure you heard that. But I'm just curious your thoughts. I think it's interesting that Bet Saracen has this at +3 for Arkansas. Arkansas is +3. They're projecting a very close game, obviously, and it was 48-14 last year.
Yeah, it seems like that most of these matchups, it's not quite as crazy as the Texas A&M matchup has been, but it just feels like another game or another series where Arkansas just finds new ways to lose the game. I always think back to the 2020, I think it was 2020 when KJ Jefferson kind of had his coming out party. And then Arkansas just, it was a 3-point loss. It was a back and forth shootout. And they just, I don't remember exactly how that game ended. But
there was a ridiculous penalty. And then on the next play, Grant Morgan got ejected for targeting, and the defense was never the same.
Okay, I remember that now. Yep. I knew that there was something that stood out about that.
That was a shootout. Arkansas should have won that one. Probably should have won the 29-27 game also from 2 years ago. And, there are other instances that, maybe they should have pulled it out. But, yeah, they just Brett Bielema's last game. I always thought that was interesting. Like, you look at the difference in, like, Chad Morris's last game against Western Kentucky, a game that he had to win, really, looking back, or to not get fired, and they just laid down and let it happen, and let him get fired. And Brett's game, they actually really battled that game when they lost to Missouri. They fought for him.
Yeah, and this is going to be really interesting to see how Arkansas kind of comes out, and are they going to fight, or is it going to be kind of like an Ole Miss?
They're fighting for Sam Pittman, though. I think. Yes, he's being retained. People freak out when I say that's my endorsement. I'm just reporting what is happening. I still think, just to clarify, I think Arkansas needs to win this to satisfy Arkansas fans at the minimum level to win 7 games, go 500 in the SEC in year 5 of a coach. But I'm interested to see if they come out and fight for him and come out with the right energy level. And if Taylor Green has expressed to these guys how you play in the snow, because I haven't worn a coat yet for a Razorback football game.
Yeah, that's right. You told me that last game that your streak is going to get broken this week, where you're going to have to break out the jacket. Hopefully you can break that streak of going
it'll be a heavy coat.
Yeah.
It'll be more than a jacket for this one.
Yeah, you're going to need a toboggan, gloves, the whole nine. But it's going to be interesting, I think, because there's like nobody on the team that has experience other than like Talon really playing high level football in the snow. Do they get a little intimidated by that, or do the elements affect them? And then I think there's a possibility of a concern of, is there some are they getting a little complacent with making a bowl game? Like,
they better not.
Do they feel
if
like
they're complacent with a 6-6 bowl game? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, but we've seen them get complacent for much less.
Oh, no question.
Sam Pittman's tenure.
Well, they came out. They looked terrible coming out against Louisiana Tech. I mean, I was getting very frustrated. Like, I could not believe that here we are again. There's an opportunity for them to put on a good show against, in front of fans that I thought showed up pretty well, considering it was, day one of duck season, and the weather, and, the team that they were playing, all those kinds of things, especially, the team they were playing in duck season, but, and team performance, but they end up pulling it together and beating Louisiana Tech worse than anybody's beating them. But,
I would
be real disappointed if they come out and play like ass on Saturday. I would be real disappointed. Like, I can understand, I still don't think it's up to standard, but I can understand losing a close game. I get that, and fighting, and you're just not the better team. But coming out and just going through the motions, that would be unforgivable.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm right there with you. I remember, about halfway through the first half, I looked over and you were stewing a little bit in the Louisiana Tech game. You were not happy, and but it's so frustrating because, like, this team obviously has shown the talent. Like they have the talent, they have the ability to play with Tennessee. They almost beat Texas. It's just like the will is so inconsistent, and the focus, the energy level is just so inconsistent. It's a pattern that's goes back to Sam Pittman's first year. It's just unexplainable and inexcusable. And then this game, I think, is like you've said it. We're beating a dead horse, but the toxicity among the fan base, if you come out and you get beat by multiple possessions and you don't look competitive at all, I mean, it's going to be a long off season, and Pittman's just going to have to keep blocking people on Twitter because it's going to get.
Well, they need momentum. Like, if there's no, people would say they've made it to a bowl game as reason for play. No, and maybe these guys are young and they don't quite understand, but there's momentum is real in college sports, and being able to carry momentum from the last win for 3 or 4 weeks in this early offseason leading up to the bowl game, preparing for the bowl game, the players' idea of what this team is and what it can be next year, those who are considering returning or not returning, how others view the team in the transfer portal in terms of where it's headed. All of those things matter. And this game is important for that reason. It just is. And some people may say it's 6 wins, 7 wins. It's not that big a difference, but it is. There is a difference in finishing 500, at least in SEC play, versus a losing record in SEC play. Potential for a losing record overall this season because you got a bowl game to play. You lose this game, all that stuff snowballs. Keith Grayson, I haven't had Keith on in a while. I need to get Keith back on. But Keith used to call it the cycle of suck. And when you suck at something and it just bleeds on to everything else, and it's a cycle. And Arkansas was caught in that really with the Chad Morris era. And you don't want to fall into something like that again.
Yeah. It's so important. Like you said, momentum it's a real thing. You're never going to see it in the box score. You're never going to see it on the stats page, but it's so real. And on a bigger level, like the macro view of things, it's like that cycle of suck. I mean, you start to get like a reputation of, you kind of are the doormat. You're never going to Missouri fans just are starting to look down on Arkansas because, Arkansas has never had success. Since this rivalry started, they haven't had success against Missouri. I mean,
I've always argued too. Yeah, I've always argued too, Connor, that, historically Arkansas is a much better football program than Missouri is. The stadium is better. Facilities are better. Up until recently, it seemed like they had more financial resources, but that doesn't seem to be the case now when, you're losing guys to Missouri over NIL money because, they're willing to pay players more than some of your starters, So yeah, it's definitely, there's been a turn there. And I've said this before, if Arkansas is not in a position where they can compete with the likes of Ole Miss or Missouri financially, they need to consider doing something else, because it's a hoax on Arkansas fans who invest all their time and energy. And it's also, you take advantage of Arkansas fans because they can't just let go of it. I talked about this on the walk and talk, but there's certain things in your life that you can't separate yourself from. You buried your heels in, your kids are your kids. But there's other things, and not me, but people, people move on from their spouse. People lose touch with their best friends. People change friend groups and stuff all the time. But it's ingrained in you, your team. It's woven in your soul for some reason. And it feels unfair to feel taken advantage of, by the team that you love and want to support so much, when you don't feel like there is a investment enough or a high enough bar, for them. And I don't think the bar is too high that, a 7 to 9 wins, I just don't think that's crazy. And historically, Connor, they've not given you that since they've been in the SEC. They're averaging 5.9 wins a season. That's also including terrible 2-win seasons and 3-win seasons and all that crap that's just completely unacceptable, outside of the idea of a transition year, which, I can understand why that would happen, especially nowadays with this calendar. But I just feel like if you don't feel like you can compete with Missouri, get out of here. Quit, go do something else. That's where I stand on it. If you can't compete with Missouri, leave the conference and go play with some weaker competition.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And you're the bar of 7 to 9 wins, like you said, I mean, it's not too much to ask from a program like this that has the backing of an entire state. You don't have pro teams, you don't have other big major universities. It shouldn't be that big of an ask.
Right. And it's it. This is all we have in this state. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I think has always been special about the University of Arkansas is that, name another big name school that doesn't have another big name school in any sport. Right? They don't have pro teams. They don't have, any competition really for the fan base or for, alumni in the area. So it's
and you're being abused.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because our job isn't to, obviously people I saw that post on the Razor's Edge forum where the guy was like, I want this Trey Biddy back. And it was your walk and talk from the Western Kentucky game.
Yeah. You don't want 2-10 Trey Biddy.
It was like, that's the rare situation where it is, our duty, your duty to step up and say, hey, this isn't working. Like, this is bad. Like, to call it out and, say this guy is not it. Like there's an issue here. And I think that people, mistake that for any time that they think that a coach needs to be fired. You need to go, berate Pittman or berate them in a walk and talk. And it's like, it's just not that. But then they, take your silence and your, reporting the facts of, hey, Pittman's going to come back is like, oh, well, he's a mouthpiece for the university. And I think that's frustrating because it's not our job to say, hey, we're not satisfied, but, Sam Pittman, it's not our job to say it's his time. He needs to be fired. And it's not our job to, blast it all over the socials. I mean, what good does that do? Like, what if they go beat Missouri and you had done a walk and talk, 30 minutes saying Sam Pittman deserves to be fired. And then they go win a bowl game and they're sitting on 8 wins. And then, what happens then?
Well, I think it's my job to ask questions that need to be asked. And I asked Sam Pittman last year, if he was concerned about his job security. That's a question that most people won't ask, but I asked it. But I also think that it's my job, to say stuff like, give my opinion of what I think the standard for Arkansas sports should be. And, for Arkansas basketball, I've always said that they should, make the NCAA tournament 4 out of 5 years at minimum. And I've always said that. Maybe that's different now with Cal, but I've always like, I think that laying out standards and let people draw their conclusions from there and asking questions that need to be asked, I think is the job. There's not, and I mean, it's an interesting case with me, Connor, because most people who are beat writers, which is what I am, by trade, don't go like sit in the front row of the press conference and ask questions and then go get in front of a camera and give their opinion or do the walk and talk like I do, which is an emotional reaction. There's like different types of media people. There's beat writers like that. And then there's the talking heads, which, a talking head is more, and I don't mean this in any disparaging way, but, people who cover basically people who cover the team. They're covering other media people who put out information, basically, or they're putting out stuff and they see, from press conferences, from questions that they're not asking. So most people don't do what I do, but like you don't see any beat writers across the country that are like, so-and-so needs to be fired. I mean, you don't see it. And in a way, like when I did that with John Pelfrey and when I did that with Chad Morris, some people might view that as me overstepping, the line in a way, but also I don't consider myself just a beat writer too. I don't know. It's a weird deal, but like, I'm not coming out saying like Sam Pittman needs to be fired. I'm saying like, these are the standards for Arkansas football and these are the standards that aren't being reached.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think that
I'm not lobbying. I'm not lobbying for somebody to be fired.
Right, and I mean that traditional journalist and traditional reporter, like the old, like you said, that line is getting a little bit blurred now because everyone has a podcast. Everyone expects everyone to have an opinion on everything, and it's just like that's kind of where you find yourself getting into that murky area where it's like, okay, it's impossible to like give your opinion on something and then you not have like biases and everyone's going to have their own opinion about your opinion. And it's just, it's hard enough to just, cover the team and on the day to day, sort through the facts, sort through the minutia of everything that's out there. And then you've got people who don't really cover it, who are given their takes, and it kind of skews what people expect.
There's a lot of people out there who talk tough, who don't see anybody face to face ever. Yeah. I don't mean not toot my own horn stuff, but I do think it's important that I go and talk to people and then give my honest opinion on it. And there's a lot of people that won't talk to anybody and have the worst things to say imaginable. But my favorite interaction I had with a guy, there was somebody on Twitter posting screenshots of an article I wrote last year where I was like, these are the standards for Arkansas sports. And he was like, and this guy replied, he's like, got him red-handed. I was like, I haven't changed my mind on any of these things. Why is this a gotcha moment? I still believe everything I wrote. In fact, wrote something very similar to this last week, So,
I think one of them was like, if Sam Pittman starts 2-2, it's going to be, tough. And like they were saying, what about this? And it's just like, well, they started 3-1 this year. They
started 3-1. Yeah, but they should have beat Oklahoma State. That was BS. They were better than them, and they found a way to lose.
Yeah,
there's no other way to put that. If they'd have beaten Oklahoma State, like that was a game where you had it is right in front of him, right in front of you, like just beat them. Then you're talking 4-0 start. You beat Auburn, that to me, like people can get upset about losing to Texas A&M and losing to whoever else, but Texas A&M, like if we want to be honest with it, Connor, has more resources than Arkansas. They have better direct access to talent. They're spending more money in NIL. There's a lot of things about Texas A&M, as ridiculous as some of the things that they do in College Station, Bryan College Station now. Some of the most ridiculous traditions and all that kind of stuff. You can say whatever you want. They have more resources than Arkansas does. And so losing to them, a team that Arkansas, by the way, is traditionally beaten more often than not, I can understand losing a close game to them, but losing to that Oklahoma State team, which we can see now is not a good team, that to me is very frustrating, because I know that Arkansas, when you talk about NIL resources, I know they've got better NIL resources than Oklahoma State. I know that just from conversations I've had behind the scenes, mainly centering around transfer portal stuff. I know that Arkansas has a better group of players and should have won that game and was in control of that game and just found one way after another to lose it. That's frustrating to me.
Yeah, and it feels like that they've always almost won those types of games, and it's just like, man, I feel like every season we're going back, man, if the ball would have just bounced this way, or if this would have went this way. The difference in Arkansas being like an 8-9 win team are probably just a handful of plays like this season. Yep. And people aren't going to like that. They won't admit it, but like this team has been very, very close to being one of the better teams in modern history for Arkansas. But again, like they mistake that for saying, oh, well, people are just trying to, make Pittman out to look good. No, it's just as frustrating for us. We're just as upset. And like,
that's another thing, Connor. I tell people that too. Like people would say that I have bias or I'm a mouthpiece or something, like, which is ridiculous. Like me reporting that Pittman's being back, I don't understand how that makes me a mouthpiece, but like, what would be better for me? And I think I've talked about this before, but like, if you want to say like I would have a bias, is it better for me to cover a winning team, like have a bunch of readers, have a bunch of people like wanting to read about, Arkansas's winning team, this generational team, all this stuff? Is it better for me to cover a team that is starting over, has a bunch of new storylines, new coaching hires, new players coming in, new hope, all that kind of stuff? Or is it better for me to cover a team that's just 6-6, just hanging on, barely doing enough to get by? Like, which is better? And people would like say stuff like, were you just worried about losing your credentials? Like, I mean, like, first of all, I'm not going to lose my credentials for having a tough line of questioning. That's ridiculous. The only time I've ever seen anybody like booted credential wise is like if they don't, or if they like cheering in the press box or something like that. That's
or they wear a Florida hat to the press conference.
Yeah, well, that was kind of a different deal, but anyway, stuff like that. Yeah. It's just the idea that some people come up with, and I'm with, like, I grew up in this state. I've lived here over 40 years. I went to the University of Arkansas. I stormed the field in '99 against Tennessee. I don't take that out. Like, there's a lot of media people also that say that they, you have to be unbiased and all this stuff. So I'm just supposed to sit here and lie to people and act like I didn't do those things? Like, and just, it's like it's just shut off. It's a wall and I'm a robot or something? Like, no. Like, I always tell people, like, I don't put it on my chest. I keep it in my pocket, but it's going to stay in my pocket. You just can't get rid of it. We talked about it earlier. Like, it's ingrained in you. If you grew up in this state, or if you went to the University of Arkansas, you have any allegiance to the University of Arkansas, you can't just drop that. And for people to act like, yeah, I'm just, You know, I'm unbiased. I'm unfazed. I'm just an independent, you know, like I care what happens to this program and the fans that live here because that's where I live. That's what I'm around all the time. So I don't know. Maybe I have biases that I can't shake, but I don't
No,
know.
I
Try to
think
be as
that's one
objective as
thing
possible, but
I think that's one thing that like why people are drawn to you. And I think that's why, whenever I started getting into this, it's like you were one of the guys that I read the most. And then also, that's why I think a lot of people are drawn to the content because you were a fan first. And I mean, that's how I grew up as well. I was a fan from the day I was born. I was 3 months old and my mom almost dropped me on my head when Scotty Thurman hit that three to put us ahead to
oh my
put
gosh,
Arkansas
you make me
ahead.
feel
I'm
so
not going to use
old.
us. I'm not going to use
You make
us.
me feel so old. I mean,
But
I'm in
yeah,
high school. We're running around Sheridan screaming like, let's go to the Strip. Let's go to the Sonic.
I was babbling. I was 3 months old. But yeah. So I mean, and that was kind of the start of my Razorback fandom. And growing up, my parents had season tickets, grew up going to games and stuff. And so it's like we have that extra emotional side. And I think that we hope that kind of comes through in our writing that separates us from, other outlets that may have people that didn't grow up here and that are just, doing this as a job. And it's no disrespect to them.
I always look at that too, Connor, like when I'm, making hires, like a lot of, like, I don't know if you know this, but like professors, like when they hire professors at the University of Arkansas and stuff, they'll usually look outside the university to bring somebody in. Newspapers do that a lot too, more traditional styles. I have always, like, if you go back and look at the history of hires that I've made, every single person I've hired has been from Arkansas or has went to the University of Arkansas or grew up like in an Arkansas family, like, like Andrew Ellis, who used to work for me. Andrew's whole family was from Arkansas. He lived in Louisiana, but his whole family was from Arkansas. I grew up big Arkansas fan. Everybody I've ever hired. And I talk with, people at 24/7 about it and they're like, you just need to find somebody that's like, no, I need to find somebody that is invested in Arkansas. Because I know that I can take certain biases out of it when I report on stuff. And, I'm not like picking Arkansas to win every game and stuff like that. And I'm, critical when they lose and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think that you have to separate those two things so much, but every time I've hired somebody, and I've come close before because there's some really talented people out there, and maybe, who knows what happens down the road and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, I always think it's important to hire people like you, to hire people like Danny West, Kevin Bohannon, Tyler Glasscock, hiring people like that, Rowan Hamby, who does all our video stuff. I just think it's important. And I don't know that I would do personally. I don't know that, and everybody's different. Bob Holt's not from Arkansas, but he's ingrained part of the media, obviously. Nate Allen's from New Jersey, so maybe that's not true in every case. But those guys have also been in Arkansas a very long time and are, invested in that regard too. So,
yeah. But like you said, I think that also makes
is your longest segment.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering if you're just going to kick me off. And people are probably getting tired of us rambling on here.
Well, I'm talking about myself, so I'm sure that's everybody loves that. You want to talk about the dynasty?
I guess we could.
When are you heading to Kansas City?
Well, we're probably going to stay the night in Northwest Arkansas tonight. I've got my mom hasn't been to a game this year, so she's coming up with me. My wife's going to handle the family Thanksgiving responsibilities solo tomorrow. And so, but my mom's coming. She hasn't been to a Razorback game. I don't think she's been to a Razorback basketball game in years, but so she's tagging along, but we're going to stay up in Northwest Arkansas and go up to Kansas City tomorrow, kind of make it not such a bad drive. It's 6 hours is a little.
I'm still debating on my trip, Connor.
Yeah.
Like, do I stay in Springfield? Do I stay in like Jefferson City? It's going to snow. Like, do I want to be driving back in the snow? Driving back in the snow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I always advocate for trying to split it up if you can. Cause that's, man, I get,
I'm definitely not coming home and I'm not getting home at 1:30 in the morning. I mean, I'm too damn old to be.
Yeah. Me and Danny tried the old, drive straight through after a game against Tennessee. After the Tennessee win, we both tried to just tough it out and drive back because we were hyped up on some adrenaline, and I will not do that. I didn't get back till 1:32, and I was not fun. So yeah, I wouldn't try to push through like that.
Well,
not
our dynasty anyway, when anybody watches this, it'll probably be played, but I am in the SEC championship game. So we have a 12-person, real person online dynasty on college football that's been a lot of fun, all HawgSports members. I play with Arkansas. Connor plays with North Carolina. We just drew teams kind of that were like all on the same level, created a new SEC. We're in season 4 right now. Arkansas has made the college football playoff 2 years in a row, lost a national championship game in year 2 to the TCU guy by a touchdown. I lost the SEC championship game last year. I'm back in the SEC championship game. I am, 11-1. But I play Virginia Tech, who I've never beaten and has won. How many he's got 2 national championships?
Yeah, he won. He's got 2 of them.
I don't understand. Like, I beat North Carolina guy who's really good too, but I beat him as bad as I've ever beaten him.
I'm North Carolina.
And then he went, or not, excuse me, South Carolina.
I was about to say,
we haven't played the last 2 seasons. And then I beat him, and then he turns around to beat Virginia Tech, who I cannot beat to save my life. I cannot beat that guy. So
yeah, I beat Virginia Tech last year too, and I snuck into the playoff last year. And it's kind of funny. The last 2 years, the Nebraska game has really decided if I was going to the playoff. Like, I lost to the Nebraska guy this year, and he's going to sneak into the playoffs, and I'm stuck on the outside looking.
He got you talking last year because you streamed the video. You streamed it on YouTube.
Yeah,
and everyone he got you talking. And I noticed there was one play where he hit a deep ball, and you're like using a cornerback or something, and he just freezes.
Yeah.
And he beat you deep, but he got you talking. He's like, "Hey, come, when you come up to Kansas City, come hang out, come see me, all this stuff." You're like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you think about the game this weekend?" Next thing,
got me rambling.
Yep. A lot of people do that. I had to tell a USC guy who's been with us a long time. Shout out Chicks, C Hicks. I guess I always thought it was Chicks, but he's C Hicks. He's a big fan of doing. I was like, dude, shut up, stop trying to get my head.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of fun. We do enjoy. The only reason we're talking about it because we've gone way over time anyway. And there was one guy who commented, he's like, "I don't mind hearing about your dynasty, but it is a lot of fun getting to recruit and build your own team, build your program." Charlie Collins and Kavion Henderson are anchoring the edge for me as redshirt juniors right now. Henderson may win the Heisman this year. He's got like 20-something sacks. So.
Yeah, and we're all kind of the same skill level. Like, there's not one of a TCU guy was getting there where he was pretty good, but he bowed out a little early and got busy.
I almost got him in the championship game. I lost by a touchdown. I do feel like Virginia Tech's on a different level than all of us, but he still gets caught every once in a while, just not by me.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun to like have other guys that are kind of casually, like they're not hardcore, like video game football players. They're not like doing these glitchy plays all the time, and just it's fun to have some guys that are casual, and like the group chat's really fun. Just the banter back and forth, and the faux press conferences and media updates after games are pretty fun to do too. So but yeah, we have a lot of fun. I just got to recruit a little bit better. We need some playmakers. We're about to lose North Carolina's about to lose some key guys. So
yeah, well, good luck. Transfer portal's coming up. All right, Connor.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you having me. It was fun to be here live and live in color.
Long one. We'll see how people react to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Safe travels.
Later.
All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Connor does a great job, budding star in this industry. We went through a lot of resumes to find Connor Goodson. Actually, I ended up reaching out to Connor, I believe. But yeah, we obviously had a big search for some new talent, and how come I can't figure this out? Here we go. Boom. Boom. All right, there we go. All right, so we're going to wrap the show up. Appreciate Gabe DeArmond hopping on. Connor Goodson, Appreciate him as well. Sign up at Ozarks Go if you haven't done so already. Check them out. If you're disappointed with internet service, you think there's something better out there, you're moving or anything like that, it's worth a call. Call them at 479-684-4900 or reach out to them at ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. And don't forget, don't pay attention to this right now, this banner below. HawgSports is 75% off right now at HAWGsports.com. It's our best deal of the year. We don't do a better one. It breaks down to $26.85 for the entire year. That's a huge discount. It's normally like $119 or something like that. So a great deal if you sign up for the annual membership. 75% off for a limited time. It's the early Black Friday sale. 7 cents a day, 52 cents a week, $224 a month. There's not much more. What can you pay 7 cents a day for? Tell me what you pay 7 cents a day for, and you can use it all day long. You can have access to cover all your Razorback needs. I mean, it's all at HawgSports. Like, what's better than that? All right. Appreciate you joining me, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.